In March 1941, during World War II, the balance of power in the Balkans starts to shift dramatically. In Belgrade, the capital city of Yugoslavia, a sudden overthrow of the government takes place. This government had previously agreed to an alliance with Nazi Germany. When the news reaches Berlin, Hitler reacts with intense anger because this former ally appears to be turning toward Britain and the Western powers instead. The Führer considers this an act of betrayal and decides that Yugoslavia must be utterly destroyed without any mercy. Plans are made not just for an invasion, but also for severe punishment of the Yugoslav people. When the attack begins on the 6th of April 1941, German forces demonstrate overwhelming superiority. Nearly 1,000 aircraft swarm the skies over Yugoslavia. Hitler makes it clear that any resistance to Germany will be met with total annihilation. As a result, Belgrade is reduced to ruins with its streets filled with the dead and wounded. The campaign lasts only 11 days. On the 17th of April 1941, Yugoslavia surrenders and is subsequently carved up and divided among the victors. However, the end of fighting does not bring peace. The occupation ushers in a brutal era of terror, often supported willingly by local collaborators. Hostages are executed, villages are set ablaze, and civilians are treated as enemies. Central to these operations stands the man who had orchestrated the destruction of Belgrade and who, throughout the war, will command German forces across the Balkans. This man is Alexander Löhr. Born on the 20th of May, 1885, he comes from the city of Târnu-Severin, which was then part of the Kingdom of Romania. His father, Friedrich Johann Löhr, originated from Mainz in Germany and had served aboard a hospital ship in the Black Sea during the Russo-Turkish War, while his mother, Ekaterina Mikhailovna, came from a medical family in Odessa, in the region now known as Ukraine, and worked as a nurse. Due to his parents' backgrounds, Alexander Löhr was exposed to multiple languages from an early age and was a member of the Eastern Orthodox Church, like his mother. He was the youngest child, having two older brothers. During his teenage years, he attended military schools within the Austro-Hungarian Empire, located in Košice, currently part of Slovakia, and Timișoara, now in Romania. In the year 1903, Alexander enrolled at the Teretian Military Academy near Vienna and completed his education in August 1906 with outstanding achievements. He continued his military career and during the First World War served as a platoon commander in the Austro-Hungarian army. After the war, he remained in service within the small armed forces of the newly established Austrian Republic, formed from the fragments of the former Habsburg Empire. Progressing through various staff positions, he was appointed director of the Air Force in the Federal Army's ministry. By 1934, he was chosen to lead the Austrian Air Force, which, although modest in size, was consistently undergoing modernization. These years marked a period when air power, aerial defense, and the threat of enemy bombers were major concerns for European governments. Citizens across several countries feared the potential devastation of their cities from aerial assaults. Löhr specifically planned attacks of this nature, targeting cities and civilian populations. At the same time, he navigated the circles of politicians and military officers with great professionalism, analyzing reports, inspecting airfields, and understanding the fact that to implement changes in the army and promote new weapons and strategies, political backing was essential. Everything Löhr envisioned for his future in the Austrian military was altered in 1938. When Germany annexed Austria in March of 1938, he faced the decision of whether to serve in the German Air Force, known as the Luftwaffe. Being a skilled, knowledgeable, and educated soldier, he agreed and transitioned to German military service. Soon after, he took command of Luftwaffe forces stationed in Austria. The following advancement came in March of 1939, when Löhr assumed leadership of Luftflotte 4, which became one of the key divisions of the German Luftwaffe during the Second World War. With this command, he entered the conflict that began on the 1st of September 1939, when Nazi Germany attacked Poland. One of the most merciless assaults during this initial stage of the global conflict was the bombing of Warsaw. German strategists aimed to crush the morale of Polish defenders through widespread aerial destruction. Although this particular attack was not orchestrated by Löhr, he carefully observed and took notes. In less than 2 years, he employed a similar strategy against another European capital, Belgrade. On the 27th of March 1941, a coup in Belgrade toppled the pro-Nazi government and Peter King, a young monarch with pro-Western views, came into power. Hitler was enraged and determined that the nation and its capital must face severe consequences. The operation was called Unternehmen Strafgericht, or Operation Retribution. The bombing began on the very day of the ground invasion, the 6th of April, 1941. The Royal Yugoslav Air Force had only 77 modern fighter planes available to protect the capital against hundreds of German fighters and bombers. Complicating matters further, one of its officers had already defected, revealing crucial codes and key defense positions. The German forces gathered hundreds of aircraft near the border and launched successive waves of attacks. On the first day, there were 4 separate strikes, and on the following day, even more assaults were carried out. The city lost control over its communication systems, and the military command could no longer coordinate the defense, as transportation routes and lines were heavily damaged by the German bombings. Luhr devised a strategy to bomb Belgrade by first dropping incendiary bombs with the goal of using the resulting fires as beacons for later bomber waves that would return after nightfall. In reality, this meant that when residents came out to assist or search for loved ones, they were caught in new attacks guided by the glowing burning districts. Belgrade was seized on the 13th of April, 1941, and Yugoslavia surrendered just 4 days later. For this operational achievement, in early May 1941, Luhr was promoted to General Oberst, a rank equivalent to general. His subsequent moves followed the shifting front line to the south. In the east, not as a member of the Luftwaffe, but rather within the German army known as the Wehrmacht, in July of 1942, he briefly took command of the German 12th Army. By the end of that same year, his rank changed once more as he assumed the position of Commander-in-Chief for Southeastern Europe. The troops he led were organized under Army Group E. The area under his control spanned from occupied Yugoslavia to Greece, extending towards Albania and along the Adriatic coastline. His daily duties involved working with staff maps detailing railway routes, mountain passes, bridges, and towns where resistance activities were intensifying. Luhr was chosen to lead the German forces in the Balkans because he was Austrian, and Hitler believed this background would give him a better understanding of the Balkan territories, which had once been part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire for a long time. Luhr fully grasped the importance of his mission. The peaceful Balkans held significant value for German industry and wartime strategy, and he intended to secure this stability for Hitler. Luhr famously stated that Hitler tasked him to make the Balkans quiet even if it was the quiet of the cemetery. However, in this mission, he failed terribly. The conflict in the Balkans during the Second World War escalated into a ruthless battle against partisan groups and increasing Allied operations both at sea and in the skies. German military units, police forces, and local collaborators conducted anti-partisan campaigns that frequently caused severe suffering to civilian populations. Numerous villages were destroyed by fire, and hostages were taken, including women and children. Elderly people and others were executed without any trial following attacks on German patrols. As Germany's control over Europe weakened, the severity of repression intensified. Luhr endorsed these measures against civilians. Moreover, when he clashed with the URCS, whom he believed operated unchecked, he declared, "At least in Serbia, there are no more Jews." His anti-Semitism was unmistakable. He even reproached the Italians for providing refuge to Jews in their territory and expressed his grievances directly to Hitler. Luhr's ruthless stance against Jewish populations is also evident in the case of the deportation of Jews from the Greek city of Thessaloniki. Nearly the entire community, numbering approximately 56,000 people, was sent to the Auschwitz death camp in a coordinated operation involving the Wehrmacht, SS, and German railways. Almost all of those deported were killed in Auschwitz. As Germany's situation deteriorated in 1944 and 1945, the German forces under Luhr's leadership undertook a slow and arduous withdrawal northwards from Greece across the Balkans. This retreat occurred under heavy pressure from partisan fighters and Allied air raids. Convoys stretched along rugged mountain roads where bridges were repeatedly destroyed and rebuilt. The war concluded on the 8th of May 1945 when Nazi Germany surrendered. On that very day, about 150,000 soldiers from Army Group E remained in Yugoslavia. The last German units were just a 72-hour march away from Austria. Luhr engaged in negotiations with the British concerning transferring the remaining segments of the army group still present on Yugoslav soil to Austria under British protection was proposed but declined by the British. Consequently, Luhr issued the command to surrender to the Yugoslav forces. He himself was handed over to the Yugoslav authorities by the British, after which he was transported to Belgrade and subjected to interrogation. Although the war in Europe had concluded, the consequences for Alexander Luhr were only unfolding. Luhr's career demonstrated how an officer trained under old monarchies adapted to the evolving era of aerial warfare. He learned to strategize using concepts like operational sectors, flight missions, bomb payload capacities, and effective combat ranges. He embraced the idea that swift and overwhelming attacks could determine the outcome of a campaign before the opponent had a chance to react. He bore responsibility for civilian deaths caused by bombings and fires, as well as the complete destruction of numerous communities across the Balkans. The Yugoslav judiciary charged Alexander Luhr with war crimes. These accusations encompass the aerial bombardment of Belgrade in April 1941 and the harsh anti-partisan measures carried out under his leadership, during which wounded partisans were executed on the spot by German troops and villages were razed. During the trial, the occupation's events were meticulously documented. The tribunal convicted Alexander Luhr and imposed a death sentence. On the 26th of February 1947, he was executed by firing squad in Belgrade. His interment was conducted without any formalities. The very city he sought to punish and devastated by bombings became the place of his demise. He was 61 years old. Thank you for tuning in to the World History Channel. Please remember to give us a like and subscribe to stay updated. Also, tap the bell icon so you never miss any of our upcoming episodes. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you again soon right here on the channel.